What is up, guys? This is Alex from Double Move Sports, back today with another perfect offseason breakdown video. This is a great series that I've started where I take a team and I look at their free agents, the free agents on the open market, and the NFL draft. And I basically decide what would give this team the perfect offseason, who should they bring back, who should be the targets in free agency and the draft for their future, whether it's a rebuild or to compete right now. I've done the Bengals, the Dolphins, the Patriots, the Jaguars, amongst many others. So check those videos out if you have not already. Also, hit that like and subscribe button. Helps us out a ton here at Double Move Sports. But let's go ahead and jump right in. Today I am breaking down the Atlanta Falcons, and of all the breakdowns I've done so far, this one is by far the toughest because they are kind of caught in between having a good roster and having a lot of veteran players on big contracts that they can't get out of, and really needing to rebuild. So they have Matt Ryan, Julio Jones, Vic Beasley Jr., amongst others that are veterans with big contract numbers that they can't get out of because of the cap hit for their team. So it's not as simple as trade Matt Ryan, trade Julio Jones, clear up cap space. Not really how it works. If they trade or cut any of these guys, they're still going to have a cap hit this season, and for some guys beyond this season, to where they're still not going to have available cap space. But the Falcons are coming off of a very disappointing 4-12 season, and it really looks like Matt Ryan's Super Bowl window is closing fast. Arthur Smith from the Tennessee Titans is going to be the next head coach for this team. And I just don't know what direction to go. It sounds like Arthur Smith really wants to put the pedal to the metal with Matt Ryan. So we'll see if he squeezes one or two more really good competitive years out of this roster. But yeah, we'll have to break this down and see what we can do. First things first. I mean, the Falcons are negative in terms of cap space. So a lot of the other breakdowns I've done, they've had 20, 50, in some cases 70 million of projected cap space. And in those scenarios, it's really easy to fill team needs because the free agents this year are so strong. And with the Falcons, they're going to have to really grind if they want to bring on any extra contributors to this football team in the offseason. But first, let's go ahead and look at the Falcons free agents. We have Alex Mack, Todd Gurley, Keanu Neal, Brian Hill, Charles Harris, and Darqueze Dennard. They have more free agent guys. These are really the main contributors, the main players that I wanted to look at. Who should we bring back? Who should we let go? And I think obviously you're going to let Todd Gurley go this offseason. He really broke down there towards the end of the year. Clearly not the answer here in Atlanta. So that one's easy. We'll let Todd Gurley go. Brian Hill, Charles Harris, Darqueze Dennard, guys that I just don't think are important to this Atlanta Falcons team. We're going to let them go as well. I think you bring back Alex Mack. He's a veteran player. You shouldn't have to break the bank on, a 4 or 5 year deal for this guy. You should be able to bring him back hopefully on a 1 year deal, if not a 2 year deal at a reasonable cost to be your center, give you some continuity on that offensive line. And then I think you bring back Keanu Neal as well, a guy who's definitely struggled with injuries, but he's one of the anchors on this defense, and a very good player when healthy. So I think you can bring back Keanu Neal on a conservative deal as well, kind of working around some of that cap space to make sure you at least have a veteran leader on the defense that's going to be back here in that secondary. So really easy with the free agents. I think these decisions are pretty cut and dry. You're obviously going to now have a hole at the running back spot and a lot of needs on the defensive side of the ball. So we'll see what we can do here as we move into free agency. But before we do, we're going to go ahead and say that the Falcons pull off a trade, and they're going to trade Dante Fowler Jr. for a late round pick. I'm thinking 5th or 6th round here. And the reason for this, you might say, why would we do that? We just paid Dante Fowler. He's a player with a lot of potential on this Falcons defense. Why would we give him up for essentially nothing? And it's all about the contract. This Falcons team, if they're going to rebuild, needs to start to get flexible. And yes, Dante Fowler has a big contract. I think he's like $15 million a year. So I'm looking at it here. The cap number for Dante Fowler in 2021 is going to be around $13 million in terms of his base salary. His cap hit is actually going to be $18 million. So Dante Fowler is an incredibly expensive player that's just not giving them production. His production has really leveled off over the past couple of seasons. And if they're able to trade Dante Fowler, it might not free up all 18 million of that cap space immediately, but it's going to give them some relief here for 2021. And as you look forward into 2022, it's going to give you increased flexibility as you look to the future. So if they move Dante Fowler to maybe a contending team, a team with some cap space that wants to take a chance on a guy who just has never really reached his full potential, I think that move makes sense. So we're going to go ahead and move on from Dante Fowler so that the Falcons start to create some of that cap flexibility for 2021 and beyond. And I know a lot of people are talking about Matt Ryan in a potential trade, and it's just going to be really, really hard for the Falcons to move Matt Ryan. This trade is going to be incredibly difficult. They wouldn't really see cap relief from a Matt Ryan trade for 2 years. His cap hit is so big, and the dead cap would be so big if they traded or cut Matt Ryan that it doesn't really make sense. I mean, they're not necessarily going to free up any cap flexibility by moving on from Matt Ryan unless they do it 2 years down the road. And if they did it now, they still wouldn't see that relief for 2 years. So for the time being, it just makes sense for them to keep Matt Ryan on their roster unless they can get some incredible draft capital for him in return, which I really don't expect. So in this scenario, we're going to say they go ahead and keep Matt Ryan on the roster as we look to free agency, as we look to the draft, and they might still draft the quarterback of the future to let him kind of sit behind Matt Ryan, learn from him like we've seen guys do in the past. Mahomes did it his rookie year. Aaron Rodgers sat behind Brett Favre for several seasons. So maybe we go ahead and draft that franchise quarterback of the future. We will see as we look forward to the next couple steps of the offseason here. But now we'll move forward to free agency. And like I said, the cap space is going to be tight for the Falcons. So we're not going to be able to make a ton of moves here. A lot of the other videos I did were a lot of fun. The Jaguars had a lot of cap space, the Colts as well. This time we're not going to be able to go out and make a ton of splash signings for this Falcons team. But one position of need, especially after you let Gurley and Brian Hill go, is going to be the running back spot. And there's a lot of talented guys that could be free agents this year. You got Aaron Jones, Kenyon Drake, James Conner, Leonard Fournette. I mean, Leonard Fournette might be quite as talented, but still going to be on the open market. A lot of other names as well. Wayne Gallman, Gus Edwards is a restricted free agent, Mike Davis. So they're not going to be able to afford a big name option. The Aaron Jones, Kenyon Drake, James Conner tier is probably out of the picture. But I really actually like Mike Davis in this scenario. You look at a guy who can bridge the gap for this team, be productive. We saw him be very productive in a kind of workhorse role in Carolina just last season. So if you bring in Mike Davis in free agency, he can run, he can catch. No, he's not going to be a game changer at the position, but he can be a really good plug and play guy to bridge you to that next generation of this Falcons team. So I think Mike Davis makes sense. Sign him to a 1 or 2 year small contract, something affordable, and just get a new face in Atlanta that can help you bridge that gap until you're able to really spend some draft capital on a stud running back. So that's all we're going to be able to do in free agency. I'm sure the Falcons are going to sign some depth pieces, some guys on minimum veteran deals to bring in as well. But we're not going to break down each and every one of those. So we're going to go ahead and look forward to the NFL draft. And the Falcons essentially have their own draft pick in the first 3-4 rounds of this draft, and most rounds actually, but especially here at the top. In round 1, they have pick 4 overall. In round 2, pick 35 overall. In round 3, pick 68 overall. And normally we don't do this, but we're going to actually go into round 4 at pick 99 overall for this Falcons team just because they haven't had as much flexibility in free agency. We're going to go a little bit deeper in the draft just so we can get them some more impact players here in Atlanta. And it all starts in round 1, pick 4. They're going to have tons of options here. There's rumors all over the board with this Falcons team. There's rumors they're going to trade up to get a quarterback. There's rumors they're going to trade down and get an edge rusher. And there's rumors they're just going to stay right there at number 4 and see who falls to them. And in this scenario, we are going to say the Falcons hold on to that 4th overall pick and go ahead and draft Zach Wilson, quarterback out of BYU. And I just think the Falcons need to go ahead and get their quarterback of the future while they have the chance. Matt Ryan is still playing pretty good football. And with that being the case, assuming they keep him on the roster as they should, they might not get another chance to draft in the top 5 like they are this year. And if they do, there's no telling what the quarterback class is going to look like. In a year where there are several really good quarterback prospects, the Falcons need to jump on the opportunity here at 4 overall, take Zach Wilson, get a guy with great arm talent, with the mobility we're starting to see out of this next generation of quarterback. to come in, learn from Matt Ryan, and be your quarterback of the future. You don't have to rush him in right away, but you get to kind of groom this guy and make sure that he is ready when he hits the field. So the pick here is Zach Wilson, quarterback out of BYU, just too good to pass up there. And when we look to round 2, we're going to address the defensive side of the ball with the 35th overall pick. We are going to go with Rodney Williams, cornerback out of Oklahoma State. Fun fact, this guy is actually the brother of cornerback Greedy Williams, who was drafted just a couple seasons ago. And this is a player whose draft stock has continued to rise as he's been one of the most improved defensive backs in this draft class through his play last season in college at Oklahoma State. This will give Atlanta a young corner who's continuing to grow, continuing to develop with huge potential to turn into an every down starter for this football team. So Rodney Williams is the pick there early in round 2. And in round 3, we're going to keep it on defense. We're going to go with Shaka Toney, edge rusher out of Penn State. This dude is an explosive pass rusher that adds depth and athleticism to the defensive side of the ball for the Atlanta Falcons. He will immediately replace Dante Fowler Jr.'s role in this defense. Who knows? Based on what we've seen out of Fowler over the past couple seasons, he actually could be more productive as a rookie. So Shaka Toney, edge rusher, comes in and continues to build out this young defense for the Atlanta Falcons. And we're going to do it. We're going to dip into round 4, pick 99 here. We're going to go with a running back. I know we said we brought in Mike Davis in free agency. I know you still got Ito Smith there, but you need some sort of depth at the position. We're going to go Trey Sermon, running back out of Ohio State. I don't think he's an every down NFL back, but he's a tough runner of the football. He can get north and south for this Falcons team. I think he would rotate incredibly nicely there, and a lot of people are going to want Najee Harris, Travis Etienne at the running back spot, but for a team that I don't think is Super Bowl ready right now, it just doesn't make sense to me to go draft a stud running back early in the second round if one of those guys is there in round 2. So just with the running back position being fairly replaceable, you can typically find really talented guys there in the draft. I would rather the Falcons wait a couple years, wait until their Super Bowl window is opening back up in this rebuild, and take a running back then. So for the time being, we're going to hold off on the running back spot. I do think a Najee Harris or an Etienne on this football team would be incredibly fun. And if the Falcons decide to go that way, it's going to be great to watch, especially, with like a guy like Etienne who can run, who can catch, who can do all sorts of things. So for now, we're going to hold off, though, and we're going to go ahead and lock in Trey Sermon, running back out of Ohio State, pair him with Mike Davis in this backfield, and give them some bridge players as we look forward to the future of this organization. So that does it. That wraps it up. That's everything the Falcons can really do because they're so bound by the cap this season. Really quickly, we will go ahead and recap. In free agency, we're going to keep Alex Mack and Keanu Neal, and we're going to let Todd Gurley, Brian Hill, Charles Harris, and Darqueze Dennard go. We're going to trade Dante Fowler for a day 3 draft pick. And then in free agency, we're going to bring in Mike Davis at the running back spot. And in the draft, we really get the draft haul. Zach Wilson is the quarterback, franchise quarterback of the future for the Atlanta Falcons. You get Rodney Williams and Shaka Toney on defense, and you bring in more running back depth in round 4 with Trey Sermon. I know there's a lot of rumors around Matt Ryan trades, Julio Jones trades. A lot of these Falcons could be on the block. It's going to be really interesting to see what this team does because they are kind of caught in the middle. They're too heavily invested in these veterans to truly start a rebuild right now, but they're not necessarily good enough, in my opinion, to make a Super Bowl run with what they've got. But who knows, maybe Matt Ryan and Julio Jones will show some juice one last time here with Calvin Ridley emerging, and they can make one more run with a new head coach in 2021. We will see. But that wraps it up. That is it for the Atlanta Falcons. Drop down in the comments what you thought of this video, what you would like to see them do differently, or what you think they did well here in this scenario. Also, let me know which teams you would like to see me break down next. I am rolling through them right now, so suggestions are always welcome. Like and subscribe if you haven't already. Again, this is Alex from Double Move Sports, and we'll see you next time.